Hey everybody, welcome to the Maker's Gonna Learn YouTube channel. My name's Alicia, I'm a craft producer here with Maker's Gonna Learn, and today I'm gonna be showing you how to fix your messed up sublimation tumblers. So I've got a few tumblers sitting here in front of me. This is actually one that we redid with some of our files. So this had a different print on it before it had this print. And I'm gonna show you all how to do that today. So super easy. Just doing a little bit of tinkering with like over sublimating our design on our messed up cups, and it kind of fades it out and allows us to put on a new design, which I think is so cool. So we're gonna be using a couple of tumblers we had laying around, and I am going to be actually baking these in the convection oven, which makes this fade out, and then we take a new design, place it on top of it, and it's like a brand new tumbler. So here's all the supplies you're gonna need to complete this. You are obviously gonna need a sublimation printer. We use the Epson Workforce. That one works great for us. You can also convert an Epson Eco Tank to be sublimation printer. You have a few different options, but we're using the Workforce today. And then I've got 8.5 by 11 sublimation paper, a pair of scissors, a measuring tape. This is to measure our cup, whatever cup you're using. This is gonna work best with a straight edge tumbler, which we tend to use straight edge tumblers. These are a couple of mess ups that we had. These are not terrible mess ups, but you can see here like this ghosted, just like small little things. And then this one, I brought this one in here, not because we're gonna redo it, but because it's dark, and I wanted to let you guys know that if you're trying to redo dark ones, it may not work as well. Now, we can bake this and try to bake out the sublimation and see what happens, but whenever you try to resublimate over something that was so dark, you're just not gonna get as good of a result, but we will do both. We're gonna do a light one and a dark one. And then I've got heat tape here. I've got a pair of heat resistant gloves, and we've got our convection oven heating up, ready to go. If you normally use a mug press for your tumblers, that is okay too. We're basically just gonna be applying heat to these until the sublimation ink bakes out of them. Another tip is to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. That way, any of the sublimation gases are gonna be able to diffuse very well. You don't wanna be anywhere where there's not a lot of air moving because of the fumes. Let's go ahead and hop into Design Space, and I am going to go ahead and lay my design out and print it out so that we are ready to go. Before we get into Design Space, let's go ahead and put our tumbler in the oven. That way it can desublimate while we're designing our new design. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take this one, and I'm going to put it in our oven. We've got it set to 400, and I'm gonna put it in there for, let's do 15 minutes at a time. I don't want to do it for more than 15-minute increments, just by personal choice. You could probably put it in there for a little bit longer, but it's good just to do it in like little increments to make sure that you're not doing anything super crazy. So I am gonna go ahead and open this up, and I'm gonna set a timer on my phone for 15 minutes. We're just gonna be very careful when we put this in here. And then I'm gonna close that, and I'll go ahead and set a 15-minute timer. So while our tumbler is desublimating in the oven, I'm gonna go to the Maker's Gonna Learn website. If you're new here, we are a membership-based crafting community. Once you become a member, you gain access to thousands of cut files, thousands of fonts. There's so many creative options for you on our website. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up our cut files, and we've got a lot of pattern options. So every month we release new files, and the file I'm going to be using today is from our newest collection. It is so cute. It's a little camping file, but once you're on here, you're going to be able to browse through and see all of the different options that you're going to be able to have. And I'm going to be using Canva to lay out our design. So you can already see we've got these pattern options right here. Love these. Let's find our camping option. and we will download that and then go over to Canva. So here's the camping pattern that we're going to use. I'm just going to select this little cloud icon with the down arrow. It's going to pull it into a zipped file, which I will double click to unzip, and then you can see our PNG right here. What I can do is go ahead and open a new tab into Canva, and I'm going to need to create a design. So you can do a custom size, which is what I like to do for our tumblers because all tumblers are sized differently. So what we need to do first is measure the height and width of our tumbler. Since I already stuck my oven in the tumbler, I'm just gonna go ahead and measure this one. This is the same exact size and brand as the one that I have in the oven, so make sure you're measuring it before you place it in the oven if you plan on working on your design while it's baking. But I've just got this little tape measure here, and I'm just gonna hold this with my thumb, and we're gonna wrap it all the way around. And we wanna be as precise as possible when we're sublimating. That way, especially if you're using a continuous pattern, you wanna make sure that you're getting the exact measurement. So this is about 9 1/4. And then height wise, I'm going from this top edge right before it curves, so it goes to 8 inches. So 9 1/4 by 8 inches. So let's hop back over to Canva and plug those measurements in. So you want to make sure that you are in inches. Sometimes you'll pull up Canva and it'll automatically be in pixels or one of these other options, but make sure that you are on inches. And I'm going to actually swap the width and height options just for printing purposes. So instead of 9.25 for my width, I would put it for my height. And then for my width, I'm going to do 8. And we're going to create new design. And then I can just pull my page down here, and I have my PNG that we downloaded earlier right here. I'm just clicking and dragging, and then I am going to rotate this 90 degrees. So this is not a seamless pattern, but we can make it look like one. So I'm just gonna pull this as big as it'll go, and then I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to line up, like you can see right here, I can kind of line up the mug and the axe, and you may need to mess with the sizing a little bit until you get it kind of close. And I feel like that's pretty close, but you can see down here, there's still a little white edge. So I'm gonna click and drag both of these and just kind of size it over the edge of our background. Now, if you are doing this, this is not like the exact way to do a seamless pattern. This is just for this specific piece of artwork. That's what I did in order to make it look like a seamless pattern. But what you're gonna do next is remove the background. I'm going to select this image and go to Edit Image, and I'm going to remove the background. Now, if you don't have Canva Pro, that is totally fine. You're just gonna wanna make sure that you're choosing an image that has a very dark background. So I'm gonna make the background on this black rather than white. That way, the black is gonna cover up anything that might be underneath the image. So I'm just removing the background on both of these. And then we are going to pull in a square, and I'm gonna stretch this out so it covers the entire thing. I'm gonna change the color to black or a dark color, and I'm gonna select position and send it all the way to the back. So this is the image that we have. Now, if you were doing an image with text, since we're sublimating, you need to make sure that you mirror your image. So if you're using an image with words, you would wanna make sure that you select your image and flip it before you printed it. That way it was backwards. This isn't words, so it's gonna look a little funky if I try to do that. But if you're using anything for sublimation and it has wording on it or it's directional specific, you need to make sure and flip it before you print it. I'm gonna go ahead and send this through our Workforce sublimation printer, and then I will meet you guys back at the craft table. Okay, so this is our completed image. This is on 8.5 by 11 piece of sublimation paper. I'm going to go around and trim this. You can use a paper trimmer if you're more comfortable with that. I'm just gonna be using scissors. And I'm just gonna very carefully, I'm gonna go right bumped up at the edge of this. Take my time and do this. And there you go. Okay, so I've got 2.5 minutes left on this. Once the bell rings, we're just gonna pull it out, kind of check it out, and if it's not faded at all, we will throw it back in for 15 more minutes. Okay, so our time is up. Let me put my gloves on and we are gonna pull this out. So you all can see that it's starting to get fuzzy. So all of that ink is kind of loosening up and fizzling out, hopefully. I don't know if that's the scientific way to say it, but it is starting to fade and you can really see it up here at the top. But at the bottom, we've still got a lot of detail and I really just want to fade it out more. So I'm going to put it in for 15 more minutes and then we'll check it and reevaluate. I also turned the tumbler a little bit into a different direction than what it was the first time. And I'm just going to set my timer to 15 minutes again, and then we will check back and see how it does. Okay, so our timer is going off. Let's go ahead and pull this out. Let's see what we've got so far. So far it's been in there for 30 minutes. Let me show you guys close up what it's looking like. So the black has faded a ton. This is actually looking really good. And I know it looks a little burnt, but it's one solid color up in this area. And I feel like we're getting somewhere. I'm gonna tip it. It looks like the bottom is not getting as much. So I'm gonna put it upside down in there and see if we put it in for another 15 minutes, see if that bottom area fades a little bit more because I want that to be more diffuse. So let's try that. I'm going to set another 15-minute timer and then we'll see what happens. Okay, so that was our last 15 minutes. Let's open this up and see what we're working with. This one I put in upside down. And so let me get a close up. You all will be able to see that that looks much better. So I'm glad that I flipped it upside down because then it kind of sublimated out. This is probably about as faded as it's gonna get. The wifey, obviously you can still see it, but it's not solid black. So what I'm gonna do is let this cool down and then I'm going to wrap our sublimation, our new pattern around it, and then we're gonna re-sublimate it. Okay, so I've got my pattern ready to go. I've got heat tape ready to go. And then I also have saran wrap. Now this is not a necessity, especially if you're using a press, like a tumbler press, or if you're using a mug press and rotating it. We're using a convection oven and I really, really love using the shrink wrap on that. And I'll show you guys exactly how I use it. But I'm also gonna grab a container full of ice water and I'm gonna show you all what I do with that as well during the sublimation process. I feel like the ice water hack, I wanna call it a hack, is very helpful in making your designs look super crisp. So I'm gonna go grab that and I'll be right back. So now that our tumbler has completely cooled down, I'm gonna go ahead and put our new design on it. And I am going to use the heat tape to attach it. And there's not really any particular place that you need to do this. Like there's no particular place to start, I guess you should say. You just want to make sure that you're lining up the top edge of your design with the top edge of your cup. What do you do? Okay, so once it's taped, I'm just going to take some of our shrink wrap And I'm gonna pull it right over. This really helps with the convection oven because it applies pressure. And sublimation, you need heat and pressure in order to achieve the desired look. So I'm just going to pull this all the way on here, and I've got a heat gun. You can also use a hair dryer, but you're gonna need something that's gonna shrink the paper around the tumbler. And so I'm just gonna apply some heat to this, and you can see it kind of shrink up around the tumbler. This is not super hot yet, but just be very careful. So now that we have our template on and we have put our shrink wrap on this, I'm gonna put it in here at 385 for 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees and do 2 more minutes. If you want, you can put a piece of copy paper on the floor of your convection oven only for the 2-minute sublimation time. Just make sure that you are being safe about it. And this says 10 minutes, but I'm gonna set a timer on my phone for 2 minutes just because it's a little bit more accurate. Okay, so once you pull it out, we're gonna put it directly into our ice bath, and it's gonna sizzle just a little bit. Just put it directly in there. And then once it cools down, we will peel off everything. Okay, so this has cooled down. I'm just gonna let the water drain out of it. And then there's like a perforated edge. Sometimes I'm able to tear it from there, but I'm just going to take a weeding tool and kind of delicately pull the shrink wrap off and then the paper off. So we got a little bit of ghosting on our bottom edge, but these are really not meant for resale. Like if you are going to be resublimating messed up tumblers, these are better for yourself, for your family, things like that. But I feel like you can not hardly tell the previous design. Like you can't even see it on here anywhere. Let me dry it off and I'll give you guys a closer look. So you all, this is the final product. I feel like it turned out really good. The ghosting on the bottom is user error, but the covering up factor, like this covered so well. You cannot, like you can't even tell that there was anything underneath this. So I feel like this is a really good way. If you've got, I know if you are just getting into sublimation, you've probably got lots of tumblers that you might have messed up on, or you just don't want to waste a bunch of tumblers testing. So this is a perfect way for you all to test out covering up messed up sublimation. And I mean, this looks pretty good. So I hope you all learned something today with this craft. I feel like this is such an easy way for you to fix any mishaps you might have stumbled upon whenever you were sublimating. And it's just a good way to cover up any mistakes. So if you guys enjoyed this, make sure you like the video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future crafts. And we will see y'all in the next one. Bye.